My dad never told his Navy friends. His daughter commands Black Ops Unit 77. The folded flag sat on my father's casket like a wound. 13 men in dress white stood at perfect attention behind me, their faces carved from the same stone discipline that had defined Admiral Raymond Bliss for 40 years of naval service. They didn't know me. Not really. To them, I was the Admiral's quiet daughter, the one who worked government logistics, the one who never attended fleet reunions, the one whose phone calls with her father were always clipped short and followed by a long, particular silence. They had no idea I'd buried 3 of my own people the week before his funeral. Miss Bliss, Captain Harold Mercer, my father's oldest friend, took my hand with both of his. His grip was warm, careful, the grip of a man who thought he was handling something fragile. Your father was the finest officer I ever served beside. 40 years and I never saw him flinch. I smiled the smile I'd been trained to wear. He was a remarkable man. What I didn't say, he taught me everything about not flinching. The call came 48 hours before my father's stroke. I was in a forward operating black site outside Tbilisi, Georgia, a location that doesn't appear on any NATO map, staffed by 11 people whose names exist nowhere in any government database, reporting to an oversight body that officially disbanded in 2019. Unit 77. The designation itself was a bureaucratic ghost, a number chosen precisely because it had been assigned to a decommissioned signals unit in 1987 and meant nothing to anyone scanning for patterns. I commanded it. At 34 years old, I was the youngest person to ever hold the position, a fact that had generated exactly 1 memo of objection, filed by a deputy director who retired 6 months later under circumstances that were never fully explained to his family. My appointment had been quiet, surgical, and absolute. We were 14 hours into the extraction of a double asset carrying biometric data on 6 Kremlin-adjacent oligarchs, financing a network of private influence operations across 3 continents. The mission had gone sideways at hour 11, when our exfil route was compromised by what we initially assessed as a routine FSB sweep. It wasn't routine. Someone had moved against us with a precision that suggested they weren't reacting to our presence. They were expecting it. 3 of my people were boxed in a parking structure in Tbilisi's old town. I was coordinating extraction from a position 2 kilometers away, running communications through a relay that was supposed to be impenetrable. Supposed to be. Bliss, my comms officer, a former SIGINT specialist named Tors, pulled off her headset with the particular controlled urgency that meant something had changed. We have a secondary sweep pattern. They're not searching, they're hurting. I looked at the tactical display. She was right. The FSB units weren't tightening a perimeter, they were channeling, pushing my 3 stranded operators toward a specific point. A kill box. Get them moving. North Corridor, rooftop transfer 2. My satellite phone buzzed, the personal one, the number only 4 people in the world had. I stared at it for exactly 1 second, a luxury I couldn't afford, a second I took anyway, and then I handed tactical command to my second and walked into the adjacent room. Alexa, it was Dr. Simmons, my father's physician in Annapolis. His voice had the particular gravity of a man who rehearsed sentences before dialing. Your father has suffered a significant hemorrhagic stroke. You should come. I extracted my 3 operators first. I want to be honest about that. Some people would frame it differently, would say that the tactical situation demanded their commander's presence, that the mission parameters required. No, I extracted them first because they were my people, and I would not leave my people in a kill box while I flew home, and because my father, Admiral Raymond Bliss, would have ordered me to finish the mission before he would have accepted my hand at his bedside. That was the inheritance he gave me. That was the precise shape of the love between us, vast, absolute, and expressed almost entirely in the language of duty. My father was unconscious when I landed at Bethesda. He never woke up. 3 days after the funeral, I received a visit. His name was CAPT David Ockhaffer, and I had never met him, but I recognized the particular way he carried himself, the fractional overstraightness of a man trained to stand at ease who is never genuinely at ease. He was Navy, retired by the civilian cut of his jacket, but not long ago. Commander Bliss. He used my rank without preface or permission. He'd done his research. We were at my father's house in Annapolis. I was sorting through 40 years of a decorated man's possessions, commendations, photographs, the accumulated physical record of a life I had witnessed mostly from a distance I had chosen, a distance I had, at certain low moments, resented myself for. "You have me confused with someone else," I said pleasantly. "Your father told me," he said it quietly. Not specifics. He was too careful for specifics, but he told me enough. He told me you commanded a unit that doesn't exist, doing work that couldn't be acknowledged, and that he was— Akaffer paused, and something moved behind his eyes that looked like grief he hadn't finished processing. He said he was prouder of you than he'd ever been able to say. I set down the commendation I was holding. My father in 40 years had told me he was proud of me exactly twice. Once when I received my PhD from Georgetown at 23, the cover identity, the academic life I'd used to enter the intelligence world through a door no one was watching. And once, 4 years ago, over a brief and careful phone call that lasted 6 minutes and ended with him saying, voice low and precise as a compass bearing, "You're doing the right work, Alexa. The hard right work." I had held those words for 4 years like something I was afraid to look at directly. "Why are you here, Captain?" Akaffer reached into his jacket and produced an envelope. Old-fashioned paper, sealed, with my name written on the front in my father's handwriting. The handwriting of a man who wrote letters because he believed that words committed to paper carried a different weight than words committed to air. "He asked me to give this to you after he was gone," he said. Akaffer's voice caught briefly. "He said if anything happened to him suddenly, I should find you before you disappeared back into your work. He said you had a habit of using duty to avoid grief." I took the envelope. I did not open it in front of Captain Akaffer. I read it at 2 a.m., sitting in my father's study. In the chair where I had watched him read orders and write correspondence for the first 18 years of my life, before I became someone whose correspondence was encrypted and whose orders were spoken and immediately forgotten. "Alexa, I never told them about you. You know why? The work you do requires an invisibility that a proud father's boasting would compromise, and I was always more your commanding officer than your father, which is the failure I will carry to whatever comes after this. But I want you to know what I knew. I knew when you took command of your unit. I still have sources, and you were not as invisible as you believed, not to me. I knew about the operation in Caracas in 2021, and I knew about the 3 assets you pulled out of Minsk when the network collapsed. I knew about Tbilisi, and I knew you extracted your team before you came home. That last part, I need you to understand that I know what that cost you. I know you have been told your whole career, by me first and others after, that the mission comes first. I need you to understand this as a direct order, the last one I will ever give you, that I was wrong to teach you that. The mission does not come first, the people do. You came home eventually. That is enough. That has always been enough. I was not a good father. I was a father who loved his daughter in the only language he knew, which was the language of high standards and difficult silences, and the assumption that you understood what went unspoken. You are the finest officer I have ever encountered in 50 years of knowing officers. You are also the person I love most in this world, and I did not say it enough, because I was afraid that saying it would make it harder for you to do what needed to be done. I think I was wrong about that too. Come home sometimes, Alexa. The work will always be there. I won't be. Your father, Raymond. I sat in his chair for a long time. Outside, Annapolis was quiet, the specific deep-water quiet of a harbor town in the small hours, the kind of quiet that feels less like absence and more like the world holding its breath. My father had lived in this quiet for 40 years. He had known it the way he knew tide tables and wind patterns, practically, precisely, as information useful for navigation. I had spent my career in noise. The white noise of encrypted communications, the noise of extraction routes and compromised assets, and the endless, necessary problem of keeping 11 people alive in places where survival required the suspension of every ordinary human instinct. I had been very good at the noise. I was less certain what I was without it. My phone vibrated at 4 a.m. Not the personal phone, the other one. I looked at it for a long time. The mission briefing notification pulsed with the particular urgency that meant someone above my pay grade had already decided the timeline. I thought about my father's letter, the people do. I thought about Tor's pulling off her headset with controlled urgency. I thought about the 3 operators I'd extracted in Tbilisi, currently on mandatory stand-down at a location I wasn't supposed to know but did. I thought about the asset we'd gotten out, the biometric data, the 6 oligarchs, the financing network now partially exposed and partially disrupted. I thought about the 11 people who reported to me, who trusted me, whose visibility or invisibility, whose survival, depended on the decisions I made in moments when most people were asleep. I picked up the phone. "Bliss," I said. "Commander." The voice on the other end belonged to someone I'd never met in person, operating from a location I'd never been given. This was standard. This was the architecture of the work. Layers of distance, layers of plausible removal, layers specifically designed to ensure that no single point of failure could bring the whole structure down. I was not supposed to be a person within that architecture. I was supposed to be a function. There's a situation developing in. "I need 48 hours, I said. Silence, the particular silence of someone recalibrating expectations. "Commander, the timeline." "I am aware of the timeline." My voice was level, precise, the voice my father had spent my childhood constructing out of every difficult silence and high expectation. "I need 48 hours for personal matters. Then I will be fully operational. This is not a negotiation." Another silence. 48 hours, the voice confirmed and disconnected. I set the phone down. Outside, the harbor was beginning to lighten. The first gray suggestion of a dawn that didn't know or care about classified briefings and biometric data, and the 11 people who would need their commander sharp and present and entirely accounted for. I had 48 hours to grieve my father. I had 48 hours to be his daughter instead of his legacy. I sat in his chair and I let the quiet hold me, and for the first time in longer than I could accurately calculate, I did not reach for the noise. He had been proud of me. He had always been proud of me. The mission could wait. Some operations leave no record. Some wounds work the same way. But the people who matter, they always find a way to tell you, in the end.